Okay, please, thank you.
Yeah. It is a Thursday morning here in Umphang, and as you can see by my scooter, or maybe you can see from my scooter, I'm all packed up and ready to go. That's the town of Umphang back there, and those three cyclists just rode down the hill, and they stopped here and asked me to take some pictures of them with Umphang in the background. So we had a little bit of a photo session. That was a lot of fun. So yeah, it's 8 o'clock in the morning, and hoping I don't get rained on too much for my ride back to Mae Sot. The pattern has been really heavy rain in the morning, so I didn't get on the road too terribly early this morning. I wanted to wait till later in the day because the better weather is coming later in the day lately. So leaving at 5 or 6 in the morning was not a good idea. It was still raining back then. And I'm not going to do much in the way of filming the trip back to Mae Sot because I've done it on a few occasions, including a full time lapse the last time. But just to make it interesting for me, and perhaps interesting for you, what I'm going to do is every time I stop for a scenic vista or to grab a snack or do anything, I'm going to open up the video of the rainstorms here in Umphang that I posted, a 15-minute video of rain, and I'm going to reply to the comments. Pick 2 or 3 or 4 comments, however many there are, and reply to them as I ride back to Mae Sot. In keeping with all the water of late, my first scenic spot seems kind of appropriate. Got a little bit of a water flow over some sort of dam mechanism, a flood control dam of some kind behind me there, and there's the highway 1090 between Umphang and Mae Sot. There it is over there. I was just thinking about my encounter with the cyclists. It was kind of a typical one for me, kind of a funny one, because they rode up on their bikes, and I saw them, of course, from quite a distance. I'm very attuned to bikes. I see them everywhere. And I'd actually seen someone in Umphang on a mountain bike, and they were kind of dressed like they had ridden long distance. So I thought there must be some kind of a cycling group out today going to Umphang. So I had my eye on these guys, and then they slowed down as they approached me, and then one of them was holding up an iPhone. I could see it was an iPhone from a distance. And me being a dummy, and based on past experience, I just assumed they wanted to take my picture, because that happens a lot in countries wherever I go. It happened a lot when I was in Indonesia, where everywhere I went, people wanted to take a selfie with me. And to ask whether I would be willing to do that, they just hold up their phone and then kind of indicate me, like, can we take a picture together? And I say yes, and we take a picture together. So this guy's holding up his phone, and I just assumed, oh, I'm so handsome this morning, he wants to take a picture with me. He wants to take my picture. That was my automatic thought, right? It never occurred to me that he was asking me to use their phone to take their picture. I was like, I'm such a dummy. I finally figured that out. They had gone on this big bike ride, and now they wanted a scenic picture of them on the highway with Umphang in the hills in the background. So once I figured that out, everything went smoothly from that point. So I turned it into a bit of a photo shoot. Because again, whenever people ask me to take pictures, I like to give good value for money, or good value for time. Anyway, on to the comments. Let's put the bridge in the background for this. And it looks like there are 32 comments after this rain video that I posted. So I've got a screen here, a screenshot actually of the first 4 comments. From my English enthusiast, Chin Shi Zheng Mo, he writes, "Rain sound is so cool, I like it. I wish I also can be like you to listen to the rain sound at other places. Yeah, rain is a very relaxing sound. I think a lot of people listen to rain and the sound of water in order to help them go to sleep and to relax. Yeah, it's a very relaxing sound. Fly writes, good relaxing video, Doug. Thank you. I mean, that was the idea. I originally had 15 minutes of video of just one sequence of rain, but that actually got blocked by YouTube for copyright reasons. I guess they picked up a melody of some music in the background. I couldn't even hear it, but anyway, they blocked, or they copyright claimed it. So then I changed it and then added some nighttime rain and different angles and tried to make it a bit more interesting. Tiger's Den left an emoji of, I guess, a wink and a sticking out tongue. I'm not quite sure what that emoji means. And I Will Get You There writes, I snooze now, see you soon. So I hope that means something positive, that the video was very calm and relaxing and will help them go to sleep. And they're using the video to go to sleep. So those are the first 4 comments on that video. Time to get back on the road. I don't know if this qualifies as a scenic vista, and it's not a great thing to be standing right on the edge of the road here, but I have some friends. Check them out. I'm going to see how close they will let me get without running away. So this will be my scenic backdrop for my next set of comment replies. Hey there, buddies. Look at them. And they're so curious. I was talking about that the other day, how cows in general are very curious animals. And I guess bullocks are the same. You know, they really like to know what people are up to. And if you don't spook them, they'll walk right up to you and look over your shoulder to see what you're doing, if you're sitting on the ground or sitting somewhere near them. But anyway, there's my audience for these next set of 4 comments. There, I think they're in the shot. DC writes, there's no excuse to sleep alone when in Thailand. It's not natural or normal. I don't know what that's in reference to, because the video is all about rain. It's just 15 minutes of rain falling. But something about sleeping alone. Actually, it's kind of funny. I'll put a picture in right now. This is a picture that I took because I thought it was kind of funny, and I sent it to a friend of mine. And I wrote, here's the picture right here. And I wrote something like, this is why YouTubers are single. We only have enough room on the bed for, you know, me and then all of my computer gear. But that's pretty much how my beds always look like when I'm here, because I lie down on half the bed and the other half is taken up with all of my GoPros and smartphones and chargers and batteries and memory cards. So there you go. There you go, DC. I do have an excuse to sleep alone. There's not enough room in my bed for anyone to join me. Malin Mondo writes, nice shots working with the available light in the night scene. Very chill. And at this point, my vocabulary is going to limit me on how to keep describing these great videos. All good stuff. Yeah, they did work out. I originally shot a lot of that rain at night using the GoPro. And then I reviewed the video and it was way too dark because, of course, GoPros aren't designed for dark situations, particularly shooting video at night. There's no way. So when I saw how dark it was, I switched over to my Panasonic LX10, and it has a 1-inch sensor, so it's much, much better in low light. And I shot most of that, actually, yeah, nearly all of that video with the LX10. And I didn't do anything special with the settings. I didn't fiddle around to get the best light exposure possible. I just basically hit the record button. The camera was set to program, and that's what it turned out. That's how it turned out. My audience is still intrigued. Ajam Martz, he writes, raining... I'll wait for the truck to go by. Raining cats and dogs. Nice vlog, Kundug. Yeah, it was definitely raining cats and dogs. That was a particularly heavy rain. It actually woke me up. It was so loud on the roof, and that's why I went outside to film it. Raining cats and dogs. And Andy Tan writes, good timing for a good book. Hot coffee and some snacks. Yeah, I've actually done that since I've been here in Umphang. Well, I'm leaving Umphang now. But I tended to go to bed relatively early and then wake up early. But in the middle of the night, I might wake up and I would actually go outside and just sit there and listen to the rain, make a cup of coffee, and sort of enjoy the rain, as he says. Hot coffee and some snacks while enjoying the rain. And those are the 4 comments for this quick stop at the side of the road. Got some big trucks moving along. Had a whole series of them in a row. So, there they are. My audience. And the whole crowd behind. I'm surprised I didn't spook them. They've all stayed right in the exact same spot. As I said, they're curious animals. They like to see what people are doing. And they'll actually come closer and closer. Look at these guys on the left. They're creeping up. They want to get closer. They want their time in the, they want to be the star of the video. All right, guys, time to go. And to end the scene, one of the local tractors that I find so interesting. What a great way to get around. More flowing water vista for the next set of comments. Tin Kya writes, now I am reminiscing about uncomfortable wet rainy season and making me homesick. It's interesting he calls it an uncomfortable wet raining season, but he's also very fond of it because it makes him homesick for whatever country he's from, perhaps Myanmar. The Rock replied to that comment and asked him, where do you live? So it'd be interesting to know where he's from. So he's homesick for a country, but he's living somewhere else now. Presumably somewhere new that doesn't have a rainy season. So that would be quite something to grow up with a rainy season and live somewhere that doesn't have one. Min Thwei writes, I really miss you. You know what is happening in Myanmar right now. Military coup. Help us, please. I have been your fan for a long time. Would you mind checking out the news of our country? And of course, what is going on in Myanmar is big news everywhere. So it's not really a question of deliberately seeking out the news from Myanmar. I see it everywhere, all over Facebook, all over YouTube, all over the internet. Every major media outlet and internet platform in the world is covering that story. It was sort of pushed off the headlines for a while, of course, based on replaced by what's going on in Afghanistan. But it is a story, everything that's going on in Myanmar. I'm following it quite carefully because I'm quite fond of Myanmar, and I do wish I could go back there, but certainly not really a possibility now. Jamie writes, thank you, Doug. So he is as fond of the rain as I am, or at least rain. There's that very famous Peanuts cartoon. Lucy is in that cartoon, and she's walking down the street on a fall day, and it's raining a little bit, and she starts talking about how She loves the rain, loves the feeling of the rain in her hair and the wind on her face, and is going on and on about how wonderful the rain is. But of course, by the final frame of the cartoon, she's soaking wet from head to toe and is shivering and cold. And then it's like, ugh, yeah, I like the rain, but only to an extent, to a limit. And that's sort of with me. I say I really love the rain, but I'm very glad it's not raining right now for my scooter ride. And of course, when I shot that video of the rain, I was sitting in dry comfort. So rain is very nice in some situations, but it's also nice to be dry while you look at the rain. Tim Bim Jim says, down here in Bangkok, it's been quite dry for this time of year. Heavy rain forecast for this week, though. Nice video. Yeah, that's a funny thing. I've been talking a lot about the rain, whether it's in Mae Sot or here in Umphang, and I'm all about the rain. I want to go outside, but it's raining. I want to do this, but it's raining too hard. And is it going to rain tomorrow? And rain, rain, rain. And then I get messages from people that I know, such as Howard, the American who's riding his motorbike around Thailand. And he sends me pictures of glorious sunsets, and he talks about dry weather everywhere he goes. So apparently it's raining here a lot, but not necessarily throughout all of Thailand. It's very regional, it seems, how much rain is falling. Maybe Mae Sot district and Tak province and Umphang is known for a lot of rain every year, more rain than other parts of Thailand. I don't know. So it seems to depend on where you are in Thailand, how much rain you're experiencing this particular rainy season. As you can see by this river, a lot of rain is falling. The river is quite full, flowing pretty fast. Back on the road. Before I cut off the video, here's the other side of the bridge that I'm on, and the river flowing on this side. And there's my scooter waiting patiently for me. Very little traffic, which is kind of nice. So I was able to stand here for quite a long time, and not many cars or trucks have gone by. How's this for a scenic vista? Banana tree, high corn. It's got to be 9 feet high. All the corn around me. I decided to stop here because everywhere I've been riding around the Umphang area, the fields are just loaded down with corn. So this is kind of a classic Umphang vista for right now. Plus, we got banana, corn, and let's get this in the background too. That ridge up there is like a limestone outcropping, very similar to the limestone outcroppings you'd find in the big tourist islands down south. I don't know why, but this one stretch of land near, just outside of Umphang, the landscape is filled with these sudden, very steep rocky outcroppings. They're all, can't really see them because of all the corn, but there's that one behind me, and then there's that one over there. And in fact, for just a few kilometers, you see all kinds of these limestone outcroppings. I wonder if there are any trails or anything like that leading up to the top of them. But yeah, it's a very special sort of region right here, because I don't see this kind of landscape around except for right here. Anyway, comments. Dan Heather writes, if it were the same angle for the day and night shots, you could have superimposed them for a really wild HDR type effect. Yeah, I didn't really even think about that, whether I had lined up the shots or not, because it was the middle of the night, and it was kind of an impulse thing to take those shots of the rain. And I originally set up the GoPro, realized that wasn't working, and then I used the LX10, and I just kind of did it on the fly. But maybe had I been more careful, I could have kept the camera in exactly the same spot and filmed the same scene exactly, you know, with different levels of rain, and done as he suggested in a HDR effect or something like that. All life is a wager indeed, wrote, wonderful Southeast Asian rain ambiance, Doug. Thank you. All life is a wager indeed. Yeah, it was really nice. Yeah, I'm glad I shot the video. Willie Simmons, that's a new name. I don't think I've seen that on the seen that name on the channel before. He writes, that scene reminds me of the street I lived on in Korat, Thailand. When it rained, I would sit on my second floor porch and watch the rain falling. I lived there 2 years before returning back to the USA. That was 20 years ago, and I still have such great memories. I loved the simple province lifestyle. Yeah, I don't know where Korat, Thailand is. I'll have to look that up when I get back to Mae Sot. I'd look it up right now, but I don't actually have internet access. My life of technology. I bought data, an internet data package, while I was in Umphang, because I wanted access to the internet while I'm out riding. So I go to 7-Eleven as usual, and you get one of those cards. I bought, you know, whatever, 4 or 5 gigabytes of data, valid, good for 30 days, and you get a receipt with numbers on it. You have to type in USSD codes and put in the 14-digit code. And it used to work absolutely fine, but lately, every time I do that, I end up with nothing. Nothing happens. I can type in those numbers as long as I want, and I get this message saying it is being processed, and then I never end up with any data. And I have no idea how to fix this latest problem. The number is still active. It's still valid. I can go into the account and see everything. Everything is fine. But whenever I buy data now, I just end up losing my money because none of the data ever shows up. So right now I am data-less. But yeah, as Willie Simmons writes, it's really nice to be out in the countryside. I really wanted to stay in Umphang longer, to be honest. I'm riding back to Mae Sot because I have things to do there. But I could happily have stayed in Umphang longer. Listen to this. Quiet. Just the insects, the buzzing of the insects. And I'm trading this in for the relative hustle and bustle for Mae Sot. And it sounds like, yeah, Willie Simmons is back in the USA. So his memories of his 2 years in Korat, Thailand, yeah, it would be very strong memories for him. So one last view of the limestone outcropping up there. Most of it is covered in jungle, but you can just see some exposed rock right there. And I don't know if by lifting my GoPro higher, you can see any more of these outcroppings, but they're all over this part of the countryside. I'm on a farmer's access road right now. Look at how high that corn is. Okay, time to get back on the road. At this rate, I'm never going to make it back to Mae Sot. I think my first major stop is going to be the Ava Cafe, which is located on the other side of the hills, and I haven't even reached the hills yet. So my morning coffee is still hours away. I'm hiding in the corn. Can you see me? I imagine my red shirt is giving me away. If I had a green shirt on, maybe I'd be camouflaged in here. I just wanted to get a sense of how high the corn is. There it is, yeah. Towering above me, the corn. Yeah, the corn itself is really, looks to me like it's ready to be harvested. It'll be interesting to be here during harvest time and see that whole operation. Scenic vista, but I didn't stop here to reply to any comments. I just wanted to show what I'm surrounded by right now, because I was just talking about the limestone outcroppings, and the road sort of cuts through a few of them right here. And there's quite a high one on the left side of the road. Totally covered in jungle, so you can't really see much of the rock, but all those trees are growing out of a steep rock face coming straight down there. And then behind me on the other side is kind of backlit by the sun, but that's another big hunk of rock. And the road cuts right through all these limestone. I keep calling them limestone, but I don't know if it really is limestone. But I associate these features with limestone rock that I've seen in the ocean. So I wonder if this whole area, geologically speaking, was all underwater at some point. And that's where all this rock came from. Did all of this used to be ocean many hundreds of thousands or millions of years ago? I pulled just a little bit ahead on the road, and I like this scenery so much that I'm going to turn it into an official comment reply scenic vista. But there on the left you can see some more of the exposed rock of these outcroppings. Yeah, it's not just a hill with trees on it. This is a big hunk of rock with a jungle all over it. And it's a very beautiful spot here. All this corn that I've been talking about. And over there you can see some more. All of those pinnacles, those are all rocky outcroppings. So yeah, it's quite a beautiful spot right here. And let's put some of that scenery in the background for comment replies. 3 of them on this screenshot. Sam Raj writes, the first 3 minutes is, quote, annoying rain, unquote, that never seems to end, putting a damper on your travel errand that you may have as a pedestrian or a biker. The latter part at night is heavenly rain, provided you are already indoors to enjoy a good night's sleep. This is the beauty of living in Southeast Asia. Yeah, actually, that relates to what I was saying about that Peanuts cartoon, that rain can come in many different forms, and in one mood, the rain can be wonderful and amazing, and it can also be a bit of an annoyance, so you have to sort of take it as it comes. In this video, Sam says it went from annoying rain, that was the daytime rain, I think, keeping you indoors when you really want to go outdoors, and then later at night, of course, it's what he calls heavenly rain. So I agree with him. Chorn Sam writes, nice and beautiful background, with an emoji with hearts for eyes. Thank you, Chorn Sam. And Alan Hildebrandt writing from Vancouver. Hi, Doug. Al from Vancouver. Nice to see you back in our family's area. If you drive towards the Sky Highway, but continue straight 500 meters down to a bridge, look to the right, see our home with a blue roof across the water. We spend time each year there. Our family are here. Oh, it's too bad I didn't read that comment while I was still in Umphang, so I never had a chance to look for this spot. So drive towards the Sky Highway, but continue straight for 500 meters down to the bridge. I went there yesterday, actually, and look to the right to see a home with blue roof across the water. I wonder if I captured that on video, because I shot some video at that bridge. I may actually have gotten some video of that house. I'll have to check it out and look for a house with a blue roof. Interesting. Yeah, Vancouver. Vancouver is known for rain, of course. It's a very rainy city, despite being a very beautiful place. All right, say goodbye to the cornfields and the the rocky outcroppings. Just a short distance from my last scenic vista comment reply spot, I stopped again, partially because there's more limestone outcroppings. You can see quite a nice one there right behind me. Yeah, it's something quite unique about this area just outside of Umphang. But there's also some kind of a tourist attraction here. A fishing place, I think, because there's a big model of a fish over there. And then when I glance to my right, I've never noticed this before. I've ridden down this road a couple of times already. And for the first time, I spotted a hanging bridge. A bridge and a flowing river. So I would call this a scenic vista for sure. Let's head out onto this bridge. Oh, it's very sturdy. Normally these things would be bouncing up and down quite a bit. It's bouncing a little bit, but really it feels very, very solid. Man, look at the water flow. It is not messing around at all. There's a lot of water in this part of Thailand. Wow, look at that. Got some nice exposed rock. The water flowing around it. Huh. I don't really have the time to go exploring all these places that I find along the highway. But I do wonder where this goes on this side. Does it go anywhere? Oh. Okay, are there stairs? Okay, there are stairs. And then there appears to be a trail over there going somewhere. Yeah, beautiful spot. And there's the highway 1090 back there. All right. Time for some comments. I'm actually running out of comments for this video. I'm moving through them pretty quickly. So I think I only have one left, like one actual comment for this video. So I'm going to go back in time and reply to some new comments that were left after some older videos. Just thought I'd get comfortable on the bridge with the river behind me. Hoping I don't become a YouTube viral sensation as the dummy who drops his phone, you know, through the cracks into the river. Yeah, a spot like this is not the best spot to be setting up all of your gear if something slips and falls. It's gone. You've lost it forever. So, last comment is from The Rock. This is for the rain video. He writes, briefly, that nice, relaxing, rainy season vibe. And The Rock has spent a lot of time here in this part of the world and has left a lot of very informative comments on my channel. So he'd be very familiar with the rainy seasons in Thailand and in Myanmar and probably all over Southeast Asia. So these are new comments for the time-lapse video that I shot when I came to Umphang. I shot this long, like an hour, 37-minute long time-lapse. And there are some new comments to that video. A long one here from Malin Mondo. He writes, "Yes, Doug, marvelously done. Good choices in music. I, for one, will be enjoying this video for a long time. It's great calming scenery to play in the background, as you've suspected yourself. Watched it start to finish, but this will put me to sleep too, in a good way, of course. As for the journey itself, yeah, amazing sights over the cliffs, and must be an absolute pleasure to drive. And perhaps because of the times, a practically clear open road, which is awesome. I guess it feels good to not only have experienced that particular drive, but to have it all recorded to invoke all of those memories with it. A much more personal account of events over photographs and writing. I'm no expert in either such mediums, but I can understand. Thank you very much for sharing, and as a suggestion, lately I've been enjoying walking videos of Malaysia. Journeys without commentary, I think, is great content for those looking for atmospheric or immersive viewing, which is kind of in the same vein with what you're doing now recently. Yeah, a lot of food for thought there from a Malin Mondo. I think what I'll reply to mainly is the final comment he made about watching other walking videos of Malaysia and enjoying those. Because I enjoy those videos myself. I know I've met someone online recently, a YouTuber from Vietnam, who shoots videos of markets and farming and villages and street scenes in Vietnam. And he doesn't do any narration or add music or anything like that. He simply goes around with his camera and films the scenery as he walks along, and a lot of shots of just stopping and filming market scenes. And it's not meant to be a vlog. As I said, he's not narrating. He just goes out and shoots an hour of Vietnamese scenery and then posts that. And they're quite a popular genre of video, I think. I know a guy who does that in New York. He just walks down the streets of New York with some kind of camera on a gimbal and films the walk ahead of him. And I was thinking of doing that in Mae Sot a little bit, just going out into the market, because I've been to the markets there so many times. I don't feel the urge to sort of talk about what I'm seeing and doing, but it might be interesting just to take my time and walk up and down every street of the market on a busy day, and then just post that as a walking video, ambient sound, no music, no narration, something like that. So I'm thinking about doing that. One more comment for this stop. Alan Corder Thane, he writes, "The place where you made a U-turn and stopped was the Umphang refugee camp. Can be seen small homes." Yeah, I know that place. I think on the sign they call it Umphang refugee camp, and I think it's quite an old one. It's a real settlement now. Started as a refugee camp for refugees fleeing from Myanmar, mainly Karen people, I believe. And it's been there a long, long time, so it's almost more like a permanent settlement now. And yeah, I've noticed it each time that I've ridden through, and I've had the urge to kind of go exploring, but I've never really stopped there. It's always a little bit politically sensitive, I think, any kind of a refugee camp. There's an official presence there, like a military checkpoint, and I don't know if they want someone like me just sort of wandering around with a bunch of cameras, so I never really stopped there. But every time I've ridden by, I sort of look out over that community, and there's probably a lot of interesting stories there. All right, that's it for this scenic vista. Back on the road. I'm not terribly far into the hills yet, but on this quite curvy uphill section, I passed what looks like a pretty nice vista. So I thought I'd stop and take it in. Yeah, very nice. So that's where the road is heading, sort of off in that direction. Oh, yeah, very beautiful countryside. And a steep windy road, as everyone should be aware by now, or anyone that's watched my recent videos. And with this vista behind me, another comment. This is a comment left after my time-lapse video of this very road. Roderick J. McDonald has some technical advice for everyone. He writes, "For those having difficulty watching this at a decent resolution, the last few updates of the YouTube app, at least for iOS, impose a low resolution as higher picture quality for many YouTube channels. The only solution is to click the 3 dots in the upper right-hand corner, then select Quality, then go to the bottom of the screen to select Advanced, and then choose your resolution. We now have to do this for every video for many channels. My impression is that YouTube discriminates according to the number of subscribers or the revenue of that each channel generates. This is terrible news for anyone tired of watching Baby Shark. If someone has a better, simpler solution, please post it here." Yeah, I noticed this on an Android phone as well in the YouTube app. There was some kind of an update. I didn't notice when the update happened, but now the system, the menu you have to choose in order to select your preferred resolution has completely changed. It's different now. So I seem to be getting much lower resolutions when I click on videos, and just by default. And then you have to click on Quality and then Advanced or something, and then you finally get to where you can pick 2.7K or 4K or one of the higher resolutions. Who knows why YouTube does the things it does? It's just this vast shadowy entity out there now, and it just does what it does, and you just have to try to keep up. So Roderick McDonald has some advice for anyone that wants to watch videos at a higher resolution. You got to go looking for it now. Still on the windy road, of course, climbing higher into the hills, and over there on the other side behind me now, I think there is a scenic vista. Uh-oh. I see an ant crawling across my glasses. When I stopped at that place with the swinging bridge, I stood there for a long time shooting some video, and then I didn't realize it, but a whole bunch of these like giant red ants crawled up over my body and onto the scooter. And those guys are like living time bombs. I was just sort of standing there for a while shooting this video, and I felt this incredible pain on my foot. I looked down, and it's one of those red ants. That was the first one I noticed. Flicked it off my foot, astonished at it's a big ant, but it's still a small creature, and yet it could cause me so much pain. And I'm continuing to film, and suddenly I get this red hot dagger on my ear, and I got this big red ant on my ear. Then one bit me on my neck. And then as I've been riding the scooter along the road, from time to time I've seen one of these ants crawling along the handlebars. So they're on the scooter as well. So, as I said, I'm sort of covered in these living time bombs, and I'm sort of like waiting for this red hot poker of pain to appear as they start biting me. Anyway, I just saw something crawling on my glasses, but it looked too small to be one of those red ants. Those are big army ants. But here is the vista. Very nice. As you can see, I've climbed up quite a bit in altitude. The temperature has dropped quite a bit. My ears have actually popped a few times as I've been climbing up and down. So you really are gaining and losing altitude. And I think I'll keep the camera pointed in that direction while I read this next comment. This one is also from the time-lapse video of the highway. From AAA, or AAA writes, "Addition of a polarizing filter might help the sky from looking too washed out. A beautiful drive. We all know the beginning and the end. It is the journey in between that makes it all special. Enjoy, Doug." Yeah, I'm actually a big believer in polarizing filters. when I was taking pictures with my cameras in the past, pretty much the only extra tool or filter I would use would be a polarizing filter. That's all I ever used. But I don't have any filters for GoPros. I find the GoPro Hero 9, I'm shooting this on the Hero 9, I don't think it really needs any kind of a polarizing filter. It tends to handle bright light conditions quite well. If I noticed it's overexposed, I'll dial down the exposure a little bit. Like right now I have -5 exposure compensation dialed in, and that's the effect it has on the sky. And I think if I didn't have that dialed in, it would be a little bit more washed out. The time-lapse, most of it was shot with the Hero 7 Black, and it doesn't give quite as rich or contrasty images as the Hero 9. Some people don't like this kind of high contrast, punchy colors image that the Hero 9 produces, but I like it myself. I like these bright colors. To me, that's kind of what it looks like right now anyway, so I find it a realistic portrayal. But anyway, some advice from AAA to perhaps get a polarizing filter for the GoPro. Yeah, it's good advice. Another scenic vista. I had to stop here. Just have a little bit of sun just hitting that community right down in the flat part of the valley. Looks very beautiful. I wonder if that's too dark now. I mentioned I have my GoPro with a exposure compensation dialed in, but I think I'm going to turn that off, and you can tell me if it looks better or worse. So this is -0.5 exposure compensation. Now I'm going to set it back to just 0 basic exposure. And there's the same scene with no exposure compensation. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. It's hard to tell on the small screen of the GoPro. So often I don't even know what I've taken video of until I upload it to either my laptop or a phone. So I have another comment about the 2 times driving time lapse. This is from Self-Reflection. And Self-Reflection writes, "Good for relaxing, much better to watch at this speed, calming." Yeah, I agree. On a previous drive, I rode this highway once before, and I was talking a lot more on the video. And in between me talking, I shot time-lapse at like 5 times or 10 times speed. So the whole video was full of much faster time-lapse. And then when you go zooming through the corners, it's a bit much. It's like being on a roller coaster. 2 times speed feels more stately. It doesn't cause a motion sickness, I don't think. So that is the vista. A little nervous about the weather. I think I can see some rain falling over there. And I'm up quite a bit higher. So over here you can see the clouds are sitting on top of these hills. It's quite a bit cooler now. Feels quite almost cold as I'm riding along. And I still have a long ways to go before I get to the Ava Cafe and my morning coffee, because I've been stopping a lot lately. And yeah, I haven't covered a lot of ground yet. And here's the road right here. Very steep. This is one of the 8% grade portions. Very tight corner. Time to go. And there's the scooter at another scenic vista. Can't see a whole lot down there because the flat plain area is covered by cloud and mist. There's probably some rain falling here and there down in that direction. But for quite a while now, the road has been closed in on both sides by a lot of trees, a lot of undergrowth. This is one of the first places I've come across for a while where it opened up a bit and you could see some of the landscape. And it turns out I've reached the last comment that I made a screenshot of. And since I don't have internet access, I can't actually load comments from any previous videos. So we are done with comment replies for today. Oh, look at that. The sun just started to come out a little bit. That feels nice on my skin because, yeah, we're pretty high. You can see there's actually, what do you call these, coniferous trees right here with the green pine needles. And you only see coniferous trees, of course, when you're at fairly high altitude. You start to see that. So we climbed up quite a bit, which means the temperature dropped quite a bit. And I stayed very lucky, though, in terms of the weather conditions, because it has been threatening to rain. I mean, really threatening. But there really has been no rain at all. I've just gotten a bit chilly as I've been riding along. Just didn't get wet at all. In terms of comments, the very last comment was the one from AAA. And in his comment, he did say something else, or he or she said something else. Talked about how we know the beginning and the end of the journey. Mae Sot at the beginning and Umphang the end, and it's the middle, the journey itself. That's the interesting part. And of course, that is a cliche, a long-standing cliche. It's the journey, not the destination. But for me, it does hold a lot of truth. So I thought that was worth pointing out in AAA's comment. I certainly try to adopt that point of view because when you're traveling somewhere, you do tend to get a bit focused on getting to where you're going. You know, it's human nature. You can't help yourself. I'm riding to Mae Sot, and I want to get to Mae Sot. So you kind of have to throw a switch in your brain to convince yourself to slow down. Getting to Mae Sot is not really the point. The point is the journey to get there. So slow down, take some deep breaths, look around and enjoy the scenery that you're passing through on your way to Mae Sot. We're going to get there eventually, and it's not like there's anything in Mae Sot that's going to surprise me. I've been there before. I'm pretty familiar with Mae Sot. So yeah, slow down, as AAA says. Enjoy the journey. So that's what I'm doing here. Certainly enjoying that little bit of sun on my skin. There's what is above me right now. Blue sky passing by, and the sun is breaking through. And I'm feeling that on my skin. It's very nice. I don't have any saved comments left to reply to. It's too bad, because this would have been a perfect spot to reply to them. Kind of the definition of a scenic vista. Beautiful spot where the highway goes over top of a river. And there's kind of a park here. Looks like it would be a very good place to be camping if you happen to be in the mood to do so on your way to Umphang. It's a really loud insects. Amazing. I can barely hear myself think. But as you can see, the river is really beautiful here. Some really interesting rapids here, and there's like 3 or 4 more sets of rapids down the river. It looks like the water was much, much higher than this at one point. You can see it carried an entire tree right there. It got blocked there. You can see a lot of the vegetation that got hung up. Yeah, it's a beautiful spot. I'm not quite sure what the deal is with this place, but as I said, you could camp here. I mean, there's some wide grassy spots here right beside the rushing river. And I think it is some kind of a government-run or public park or watershed. Actually, there's a sign here. Maybe we can get some information about it. So this is the Mae Klong Yai Watershed Management Unit. There seem to be some buildings back there and some equipment, probably a bathroom that you could use if you were camping here. And there's even a shelter right here. There's 3 or 4 guys hanging out, and they put up some hammocks. I'm not sure who they are. Could be a border police or military, because their hammocks have a camouflage on them. And here's another spot that has some quite scenic rapids. I shot a couple of minutes of these rapids with the GoPro already. And then the water continues down here and then goes underneath the highway over there. I walked down to the river in a number of spots here, and I was trying to be careful not to go through spider webs and also not to encounter any snakes or anything like that. So sort of scanning the ground ahead of me to see where to put my feet. I never see snakes, but people keep telling me that there's a lot of snakes here, so you don't want to be roaming around in the deep grass too much. I mean, here's the rapids right by the highway. Very beautiful spot. A good time of year to be here with all the water flowing. So, no comments to reply to, but it was worth stopping, I think, just to take a look at the scenery. Back on the scooter. And continuing on, I've got a lot of curves still ahead of me. I'm barely making any progress at all today, but that's okay. The weather is actually getting better rather than getting worse. Good day, very good day. Scenic Vista stop. I have about 100 kilometers left to go to get back to Mae Sot. So a lot of road to cover yet. I actually passed a lot of scenic spots that look like this, and I could have stopped and taken some video, but I shot a lot of it on previous rides, and I decided to stop here mainly because there's a little chunk of land right ahead of me that struck me as being very bright green. There, I think that looks better. I forgot I had the GoPro. I had dialed in a full -1.0 exposure compensation for a scene I was shooting earlier, but it was too dark here. So that's what it really looks like. A little bit brighter, as you can see. Really nice landscape. Still nowhere near my morning coffee. I did pass one coffee shop There's a sign for it on the road. I pass it constantly, but it's never been open anytime I've gone past. So no coffee there. Grab a seat on the barrier here for a minute. As I said, I have no more comments to reply to. I could invent one. Perhaps someone would ask me, "Hey, Doug, have you been watching any interesting TV shows lately?" Ah, I'm glad you asked. I'm always watching interesting TV shows and movies. Haven't talked a lot about them recently. At least I don't think I have. Let's see. Heading back in time, I'm not sure if I talked about this show or not. There was an animated show called Infinity Train, which I like quite a bit. So it's animated. Most of the main characters are children, so it has a bit of a young feeling to it, but it's got quite a mature storyline. I don't want to give too much of it away in case anyone out there wants to give it a try. But it's a really fascinating show where people from our world who live here get somehow sucked into this train, and it's called the Infinity Train, which is almost like an alternate reality. And it really is a train moving along a track, but the train itself has no beginning or no end. It's infinite in length. And every single train car has a door to enter it and a door to exit it. But within the car itself, I believe it's also an infinite universe. And each one is quite interesting and quite bizarre, a different setting. And the characters, as they move through the train, go into a car through the door, and then to find the door on the other side and to get out of that car, they have to overcome some challenges, solve some puzzles, and all of these puzzles and challenges involve a certain amount of emotional growth and learning on their part. Because all the people that get pulled into this train, they're pulled into it because in this world, in our world, they have some problems. They have some challenges to overcome. They have some personal growth that would benefit them. And the train senses this, pulls them into its world. And the only way for these people to get out is to overcome enough of these challenges. So it's a fascinating show. I think there are 4 seasons of it. And from what I've read online, people prefer certain seasons over others. I don't really remember anymore, but I think I really like seasons 1 and 2. I still liked seasons 3 and 4, but I think 1 and 2 were the ones that really stood out for me. Other people said the exact opposite, that they really loved season 3 or something like that. But anyway, actually, one thing about this show I should mention is that every episode is only 10 minutes long. So the whole season might have 8 episodes or something like that, but it really is like a single movie because every episode involves one train car and they deal with that train car within 10 minutes. So it's a very fast-paced show, a lot of fun, very imaginative, crazy things go on inside these train cars with magical creatures and other things happening. So yeah, I like that a lot. Infinity Train. Yeah, check it out if you're in the mood. Scenic Vista stop. In fact, this is the same vista, just as scenic, if not more so. I just happen to be coming at it from a slightly different point of view. I was down the hill a little bit when I stopped last time. Oh, let me back up a little bit just to get the full impact of where I am and where I parked the scooter. I'll spin the GoPro. So this is where I am, just a little shelter here. And walk through the shelter, come up to the barbed wire fence, and look at that view. It's just spectacular. I've driven by this town a couple of times and I've wanted to go exploring, but I never have. There's the whole pandemic thing makes me nervous about going into these small towns. Most of them have barricades anyway. You're not allowed to go into them if you're an outsider right now. That was especially true down around Umphang. But I've often wondered whether there's any kind of a guest house, any kind of accommodation down there. It'd be a nice place to hang out for a couple of days. Another imaginary comment. So, Doug, you told us about Infinity Train. Any other TV shows that you enjoyed? Glad you asked. A couple of weeks ago, or maybe a month or two ago, I watched a show from Iceland called, I believe it was called Katla, Katla, which is, I think, the name of a real volcano in Iceland. And I can't say very much about the story of this TV series because that would give away too much, but I'll just say that it has a little bit of an X-Files science fiction element in terms of what drives the plot forward. Though that isn't really the most important thing about the show, because it uses that plot just as a way to kind of examine some very serious ideas about what it means to be human, about relationships, about life in general. It's a very deep kind of show, I thought. And more than that, I found the characters compelling. I found the characters in the show utterly convincing and compelling. They really stick in my head after watching this show. And the setting, because this volcano, Katla, it has been erupting. And in the show, it's erupting for a long time. And the nearby towns have all had to be evacuated. So the few people that remain are research scientists, essential personnel, search and rescue emergency people. And they all exist in this otherworldly, crazy setting of a city and a landscape just covered in volcanic ash. It's like living in a permanent snowstorm, except it isn't snow falling, it's ash. And you have to, shovel this ash away all the time, and you get ash storms. But it's like a landscape unlike anything I've ever seen, just blasted by this volcano, like a desolate, empty moonscape almost. And I just found that utterly fascinating. So the whole show from beginning to end, I really enjoyed, called Katla. It is in Icelandic and in French, so you have to find a copy that has English subtitles if you want to watch it. Scenic Vista stop. That direction? Though it's not so much about the scenery here as about the human settlement, because I think this is the refugee camp, or the main one along this road. I saw a sign as I rode through, and I think the sign said Umphang refugee camp. And as I rode through, I passed through this camp a number of times on the main road, and you can see that it has grown into a pretty established settlement. It doesn't have the look of a camp anymore. It just looks like a regular town, but made up of mainly refugees from Myanmar. But it seems like a nice backdrop for another imaginary comment. Someone might have left a comment saying, well, Doug, you told us about a couple of TV shows that you've already watched, that you kind of liked, but what are you watching right now? Oh, also, very good question. I just started 2 brand new TV shows, and I'm not going to tell you that they're good shows. I have no idea yet. I just started both of them. But there are a couple of things about them that intrigue me. One is called Chapelwaite. I knew nothing about this at all. I'd never even heard the name before, but it turns out Chapelwaite is the name of one of Stephen King's latest books. And this miniseries, or it could even be a novella, not one of his big 800-page books, but maybe a shorter work. And then they expanded it into a miniseries starring Adrian Brody, I believe. And it feels very much like a Stephen King sort of story because we've got some people, a family, moving into this large, perhaps haunted house that has a dark past, a lot of secrets in a small town. And of course, a key feature of all of Stephen King's works is you've got the main characters and then you've got the monsters, whatever they are. But you're always in a setting where a lot of the book is taken up with the stories of the people that live in the surrounding town or village. And all these people have dark, horrible secrets. Everybody is hiding something very terrible about them, their habits, how they live, or something they've done in the past, or something they're doing now. And a lot of the show is sort of unraveling, getting rid of the layers and digging deep into the dark secrets of that town, wherever the story is taking place. And I always enjoy that, but I have to admit that as I started watching Chapelwaite, I was kind of put off by it because everyone in this town is so mean. They're horrible people, they're closed-minded, they're religious zealots, they're racist, they're uncaring, they're bullies. Everybody in this town just about is so awful to our family that moves into this town because they're outsiders and there's something different about them. They don't fit in, and everyone in this town is just so nasty to them. And sometimes if you watch a lot of TV and a lot of movies, you come across this a lot because something has to happen in the show. So people have to be bullies or mean or killers or evil. Like something has to happen in the show. But after a while, it can get to be a bit much because out here in my life, living in the real world, everybody is nice. I don't run into horrible people. Everyone's nice to me everywhere I go. So I often think that these shows that focus on people being racist and homophobic and evil and bullies and terrible people, it's not really a true representation of the world. My experience of life is that if someone moves into a small town, they're usually welcomed by that community. And if they are different and they're outsiders, as far as I can tell, it doesn't make a whole lot of difference. They're sort of welcomed and they get a warm welcome and everyone is nice to them. That's been my experience in life. So I don't know, with all these TV shows where these small towns are full of horrible people, full of bullies and racists. I don't know. It doesn't seem like quite an accurate picture of the world. And that can be a little bit tiring after a while to see that. But I'm enjoying the show. It's very slow-paced, slow burn, very gloomy and moody. But I'm enjoying it very much. Chapelwaite. That's one of the shows I'm watching right now. I'll talk about the next one, the next Scenic Vista. Scenic Vista. There's a lot of scenic vistas on this highway, the Sky Highway. There's a reason it's such a popular road to travel on for we scooter people. Check out this view. Again, a beautiful valley, all farmed. A few houses dotted around down there. Another day, another time, it would be interesting to go down there and walk around a little bit. It'd be very cool. Let's take a seat here for a minute. Had an interesting little event on the road here. I found something at the side of the road. A slingshot. If you can believe that. I guess it fell off a farmer's scooter or truck or something like that. And yeah, it was just lying at the side of the road. Someone lost it and forgot about it. And I'm not sure if they use this like an actual reason to shoot birds or something like that, because it looks pretty impressive. I mean, that's a thick rubber wire. I don't know if this is a child's toy or an actual tool that they use, but it looks like it can really shoot something. So I'm gonna shoot something before I leave this spot here, if I can find a rock or something to test it out with. So another TV show that I'm watching right now, again, I'm not really watching it because I just started it last night and I only watched the first half of episode 1. I don't know anything about it. I don't know who the director is, the producer. I don't even know, I know nothing about it. Don't know who the writer is, but it's called The Bite. And what interested me about this show, I'm a bit of a sucker for zombie shows. You think we've seen enough of them, that we've got enough zombie shows, but they still keep coming up with new ones. And The Bite is another zombie show. It's kind of a zombie comedy. And there's two things I really like about what I'm seeing in the first season. One is that it was clearly shot back in 2020. So it was shot during COVID-19 times. And they incorporated that into the show. Like, rather than ignore the pandemic, all the characters in the TV show it's in the United States, it's an American show. They're living in the middle of the pandemic at the height of the quarantine. So they are basically all stuck at home, and everybody is doing their work over computers using Zoom and video chatting and all that kind of technology. So I really like that. I like to see this time period already being shown in pop culture. And I find I'm really out of touch when it comes to just about everything, particularly technology. So I find it interesting to see all these people on their state-of-the-art laptops and desktop computer systems and chatting back and forth on Zoom and using all this technology. I've been away from Canada for, I don't know, 12, 14 years now, something like that. And I sometimes get the feeling like I'm missing out on a lot of advances for different things. Like electric cars are now a big deal. I keep hearing about Teslas. Everybody's getting a Tesla. Everybody's driving a Tesla. I've never seen a Tesla. I've certainly never driven in one. So I think there might be a lot of stuff that would surprise me if I went back to Canada right now. So I've sort of been had that in the back of my mind. It would be a lot of fun to go back to Canada if it ends up being that's what I have to do at this point, as my visa options in Thailand wind down. But anyway, this show is called The Bite. And as I said, it features a lot of COVID-19 stuff where people are trapped at home. When they go outside, they've got to put on the mask. They've got to do social distancing. The streets are empty. And everyone is dealing with that situation. So, yeah, The Bite. Looks to be a kind of funny. It's going to be a funny show. I do know one actor in the show. There's an actor called Taylor Schilling, I think. And she was one of the two stars of Orange is the New Black. And she has a role in The Bite. But anyway, let's shoot something with this slingshot and see what happens. I only have 57 seconds left on that memory card, so I got to move fast for my slingshot demonstration. Got a rock. Whoa! That went far. You couldn't see that, but yeah, see if I can hit something. Okay, that's not a toy. That's a weapon. A lot of power in that rubber band. Very cool. Oh, moving along, but it's a 2:45 in the afternoon, and I haven't even made it out of the hills yet. I haven't even had my cup of coffee yet. What is going on in my life? Moving too slowly today. Yeah, I'm still deep in the hills. I'm in a kind of a low river valley right now. The hills are all up above, kind of surrounding me on all sides. And I think I have about 15 kilometers to go to get out of the hills, and then I'll be at Ava Cafe for a cup of coffee. And with the restrictions being lifted, I'm curious to see whether I can actually sit down inside and enjoy my coffee, dine in for the first time in a long time. But anyway, I stopped here because I heard water. I heard some sound, water sound. And of course, going across a bridge. And just gonna take a look over the edge here. Whoa, water. Way down there. Heavy water flow. Not quite sure how high this is. It's high. You don't want to fall off of this bridge, that's for sure. Can you imagine trying to walk up that the riverbed up into that dense jungle? I don't think you'd get very far. And here's the winding road. And what does it look like on the other side? Can't see the water as clearly. Beautiful scenery though. This is gorgeous. I was just shooting some video of that water in the stream here with just ambient sound. And while I was doing that, I noticed on the railing there was a 1 baht coin. Makes you wonder, how did that coin end up there? Did someone place it there or it just ended up there by accident? But with that gorgeous water down there and my 1 baht coin, I think I'm going to turn that into a wishing well. See if I can wish for something. Ooh. There we go. Let's see what happens. I know I didn't wish for rain. It just started to rain right now. Just a sprinkle though. I think we'll be okay. All right, I think next stop will be Ava Cafe. And then after that, maybe 50 kilometers to be back in Mae Sot. So we're sort of on the home stretch of my journey today. Can you see the rain? This is the beginning of that Peanuts cartoon when Lucy was saying, "Ah, I love the feeling of rain on my face." Because this does feel really good right now. It feels very refreshing. Very nice. But if it gets harder and harder and harder. All right, time to go. Oh. Well, I guess my wish was not the right wish when I tossed that 1 baht coin into the river. I guess I should have wished for something else entirely, because the rain that hit has been pretty steady and a lot of it. And I don't know if I saw all this when I was on the road riding to Umphang, but today riding back to Mae Sot, there are landslides everywhere, and I don't know how recent they are. And right now the road has been blocked by a landslide. I've been waiting for a few minutes. Got some big machinery up ahead there, just finishing now actually, clearing off the road and clearing a path. I just have to wait until the road is clear. Looks like they'll be done in just a few minutes though. At least it'll be open to traffic again. Wonder how long it took to get that machine up here. It's not exactly a fast mover. Yeah, they got road crew there with shovels too, getting the rest of the mud. Huh. Yeah, not a lot of traffic waiting, so the road hasn't been blocked for that long. I think the road was open on one side, so traffic was still able to go around the landslide. That's why it hasn't been backed up. But ever since that big machinery got there, it's blocking the whole road. So now nobody can get by until they finish clearing it. Whoop. They're letting traffic through. Pickup truck took me by surprise there. I wasn't expecting it. Oh yeah, so they're letting traffic through from the other side first. Well, I'll tell you one thing. I am wet. I'm soaked from top to bottom. I don't actually have any rain gear with me. I could have picked some up, but I thought I would just not be riding when it was raining. And if it did rain and I got wet, it's no big deal. This clothing that I wear dries out really quickly, so it gets wet fast, but then it dries fast once I start riding. All of my luggage is waterproofed, and all my camera gear. So, time to go. And the rain is slowed down quite a bit. So, on to Ava Cafe. I've said that before, haven't I? Well, I got past the landslide. I wish I had taken a bit more video on the other side of it, because then you could see just how big that landslide was. It was a big part of the hillside came down, but I was all packed up again, and all my GoPro was back in its waterproof bag, and I didn't feel like stopping there and getting everything out. And there's a lot of traffic going back and forth. Wasn't a good time to stop. And then the rain came down harder and harder, and I got wetter and wetter. And I just happened to pass by this shelter. So I've got my scooter parked underneath the roof here, keep it dry. I think I'm just a couple of kilometers away from coming down out of the hills. So, but yeah, the rain was so heavy, I thought I should stop for a minute. If I wasn't wet before, I'm wet now. That is for sure. Funny thing is, in terms of the timing of this trip, if I just treated it like a drive, I would have been in Mae Sot hours ago. But I stopped so many places to shoot video and babble into the GoPro. This is the price that I have to pay. I got hit by the afternoon rain, which, to be honest, I knew was coming. Every day it rains in the afternoon like this, so. I thought I'd be a little bit further ahead, though. I thought I'd be down on the plains by the time the rains hit. There's the jungle. All around. Well, I guess I just settle in here for a few minutes and wait for the rain to die down a little bit. Or if it looks like it's just going to keep going, I'll just get back on the road. We'll see. Turn the GoPro around. capture a little bit of the road ahead of me. Out of the main section of hills and at Ava Cafe. I would normally spend some time here, but this time I don't think I will. I'll just have the coffee and then I will go. It's gonna get dark soon, so I gotta head back to Mae Sot pretty quick. Oh, my morning coffee at 4 p.m. soaking wet. The good news is that with the lifting of restrictions, as I'm getting closer to Mae Sot, they seem to be taking effect because they're open for dine-in service. So it's possible to sit inside and enjoy a coffee in there, which I'm going to do in a minute. I'm outside right now because they have some music playing. I don't want to record that on the GoPro. So I think this is it for today's small adventures and today's video. Come down out of the hills. There still is some pretty nice scenery between here and Mae Sot, but I've kind of left what I think of as the sky highway. So that's right now seems like an appropriate time to end the video. Put my GoPro away for the day and just relax, enjoy my latte, and then enjoy the rest of my ride back to Mae Sot. Whether it's wet or dry, we will find out as we go. So that's it, shutting down for today on Planet Doug. Very wet on Planet Doug today, though I had a really good day. I have to say, this rain just hit within what, the last hour, so almost the entire day was a beautiful day, nice sunny skies, so no complaints at all. Gorgeous day. All right, see you all in the next video. I know I officially ended the video, but I'm unending it and restarting it with a quick epilogue because I just got back at the guest house, and check that out. Sunshine on my face. The sun came out just as I got back to Mae Sot, but it was actually pretty nice the last hour and a half or so. You come down out of the hills pretty quickly, and it's quite interesting how quickly the temperature rises as you come down out of the hills. So I wasn't cold anymore once I came down out of the hills, and it stopped raining more or less, just sprinkles now and again. My shirt dried out in no time, you know, I'm perfectly dry once more, even though it was soaked right through to the bone, or I was soaked right to the bone. I just wanted to say, actually, that latte that I had at Ava Cafe, one of the best coffees I've ever had in my life. It was probably the situation. I was so cold and so wet, and it felt like forever since I'd actually sat inside a coffee shop and had a real latte brought to me in a real porcelain cup, hot, piping hot, with all of the cream on top, the foam milk, you know, with the cinnamon and the fancy designs. It was one of the best coffees I've ever had in my life, I have to say. That was really nice. That's all I wanted to say, really. It's about 5:30 right now, so the whole trip on the road from start to finish, I think it started a little bit before 8, call it 8 o'clock. So 9.5 hours, 9 hours, 45 minutes, basically door to door. And here I am at the guest house. Scooter safely parked there. So I'm back from Umphang. Good trip, enjoyed that a lot. And now it's time to unpack and settle in and make myself a cup of coffee back in my comfy room at the guest house. And now I'll see you in the next video.